So when I hear people telling me today, oh, Africa is poor because of colonization, I'm like, please, let's move on from that. Does it have maybe a tiny percentage in where we are today? Maybe, and I don't know.
I don't know whether she knows or she just chose to ignore the fact that, at the end of colonization, France signed a document with about 15 countries that it had colonized in Africa, called the Pact for Continuation of Colonization. For France, the end of colonization was just a political gesture, but they were still interested economically. So this document was an economic document telling these countries that every year they must remit from their central banks 85% of their central bank money must be deposited into the French central bank. After depositing that money, France would only allow you as a country to borrow up to 20% of what you deposited the previous year. You can borrow that and repay the loan with interest. So France was basically saying that bring your money to our country and you will borrow your money from us at an interest. You can only borrow 20% of the money. I think two of the countries, Guinea and Mali, decided to reject the offer from the French. And what the French did, they are petty, these French guys. They went and destroyed all the infrastructure that they had created in these two countries to tell the rest of the countries that, listen, if you don't agree with this is what you'll face. Now, this document is valid to this day. France collects about, 100 billion or something like that from African countries to this day. Can you really tell me that that's not the reason why Africa is still poor? Another example I'll give you is Nigeria. For Nigeria, since they discovered oil in 1959, I think, it attracted a lot of wolves, and these were the European wolves and scavengers. And one of the companies that first came, one of the multinational companies that first came was Shell. You see, these multinational companies come to Africa with the full backing of their governments. They provide ammunition, intelligence, soldiers, and everything that they need for them to succeed when they come to Africa. So Shell came into Nigeria and presented a very good proposal about how they were going to help Nigeria build infrastructure, create jobs, and uplift the society. But the tactic that they always use is this tactic of diplomacy by deception. They present a good proposal, but behind the proposal is something else. And you discover that only after they have started extracting the oil, which is what Nigeria discovered when Shell started just destroying the environment, destroying people's livelihoods by spilling oil over lakes. All the water bodies were filled with oil, and now animals couldn't feed. The fish were dying. Like, people's livelihoods were just in tatters after Shell started extracting oil from Nigeria. And from that time, 1959, the society has just been going downward spiral to this day. And that's why you see a lot of Nigerians leaving Nigeria and going to other countries, because the environment is no longer bearable. It would be very easy for Nigerians to unite and kick Shell out, but they have the ability to divide the society along ethnic lines. Then they also divide society along religious lines. So they pit religions against each other. So now in Nigeria, you'll have, the Christians against the Muslims. Then you'll also have some ethnic wars, and they use the fact that there's a small division. They provide ammunition on one side and ammunition on the other side, and then they let you fight each other as they just continue to extract oil. And this is what they have mastered, and they have been doing all over Africa for such a long time. And especially if you look at all the oil-rich nations, the tactic has been the same. Look at Libya. They have destroyed Libya completely. To this day, Libya has never stabilized. If you go to Angola, Angola has had civil war for such a long time, and it's all because they had oil. So these big multinational companies, Shell from the UK, Total from France, always have the full backing of their governments, and then come into Africa and just start to destroy. Another good example that we can look at is Equatorial Guinea. Once Equatorial Guinea discovered oil, the scavengers from the UK came in, and the leader of that pack, I'll put the story for you up here, was this guy, Margaret Thatcher of the UK. And he wanted to overthrow the government of Equatorial Guinea so that they would extract oil unencumbered. They just come and just start taking for free. So they organized a gang of mercenaries planning to fly through South Africa go to Equatorial Guinea with the mercenaries and the ammunition, everything that they had, all the intelligence. And the US, the UK, all those governments were involved, CIA were all involved in the plan to go and overthrow the government of Equatorial Guinea. So now what happened is the unity, and which is, we'll talk about unity later as one of the solutions for Africa. The unity between Zimbabwe and South Africa, where the mercenaries were flying from, is what nipped this plan in the bud. South Africa and Zimbabwe communicated, told Equatorial Guinea about this plan, and these guys were eventually arrested. Mark Thatcher eventually came out, and in fact, he's even a sigh. He was knighted by the British. Mark Thatcher eventually came out and admitted that they wanted to overthrow the government of Equatorial Guinea just to get oil. So now you see to what lengths these guys will go to come and exploit Africa. So it's not an easy thing to fight against. Another thing that they do well is they put the country's leader against the people that is leading. Just like the Nigerians do, they think the leaders are the problem. But really, the leaders are not the problem, because the leaders are in the pockets of these guys. All they need to do for the leader is to tell them that we are going to cause chaos in your country. If you don't do as we want, we are going to cause chaos. So what they'll do, for example, I don't know, I think I posted the story again of Thabo Mbeki, former president of South Africa, came out and confessed that the British, in fact it was Tony Blair. Tony Blair called Thabo Mbeki and told him, listen, there's an election going on in Zimbabwe. We want you to get involved in that election and stop Mugabe from winning the election, so that we change leadership. That's what they do. But fortunately for Zimbabwe and South Africa as well, Thabo Mbeki refused to get involved in the election in Zimbabwe, and that's now the unity that we need if we are going to fight against these guys. Because just like China did, you have to first of all close yourselves off. China closed itself off and had a revolution, the Cultural Revolution. Then they destroyed everything. All the influence from all Western influence was first of all destroyed, and they lost a lot of people in that revolution. But the point that we have to see from what China did is the unity. We have to unite if we are going to fight against these guys. And that's the number one tool that we'll have as Africans if we are going to liberate ourselves. All the things this lady is talking about are a consequence of fighting against colonialism or the effects of colonialism. If you're going to have economic prosperity, you have to first remove the cancer that is, colonialism and its effects, religion and all these divisive things. We have to first remove them, then we shall achieve economic development. So I'll see you in the next video. Cheers.